Hello, welcome. My name is Amanda, and I'm so happy that you're here. I have received a number of requests for a class that was either yin or restorative, and so I figured I would bring the two together and offer a YinStorative class for you, and I'm so glad you're here. And thank you also for your feedback to help us continue to develop this platform so that it serves your needs. And whenever I engage in a rest-based practice, I like to do a number of things to create a rest enhancing experience. So I'm just going to briefly share a few of these things with you and encourage you, if you're joining, to think about adding one or two of these things to your practice. I'm wearing my favorite fuzzy socks. I also put on one of my favorite warm sweaters. In this practice, you can become very still, and so your body can get cold. So the fuzzy socks and something that's warm can be helpful. I also love burning incense, and so I'm burning one of my favorite incense for this practice, and I have a cup of tea nearby. So any of those things you're welcome to include or not include, really personal preference. You can also explore playing some calming music in the background if you'd like, and anything else. As a matter of fact, journaling or having an affirmation or something to anchor you into staying in rest can be really helpful. So I'm going to share an affirmation with you that I've been working with for the last 2 weeks, and it is, I have all I need right now. So we'll go ahead and begin. For this practice, you will need an assortment of props, have them handy. We're going to be using a bolster, triangles, pillows, any number of pillows, straps, blankets, your favorite furry friend. And we'll begin our practice today on a bolster or a pillow. So we'll start with the bolster extended out in front of us. The bolster will pull between your knees. So open the knees nice and wide, and then begin to extend your body over the bolster for a supported wide-legged child's pose. And once you get here, give yourself some room to wiggle and settle in. Take notice of any shoulder tension that you're holding. Let the elbows draw back and bend slightly. And you can bring your left ear to the bolster. Exhale through the mouth. Release tension. Breath in this practice is a cooling breath. So if you're familiar with a cooling breath, you know that exhaling through the mouth is a cooling breath. So we want to focus on allowing the mouth to be open when we exhale. And we'll be here for an extended period of time. So allow yourself to make any micro adjustments and then settle in. And begin to breathe deeply into the belly. And exhaling again through the mouth. For the sake of our time together, I'm going to give you 5 slow, deep breaths in every pose. This will give you enough time to synthesize where you're holding tension and beginning to release that tension. So we have 3 more breaths here. If you have your head turned for the last 2 breaths, you can rotate your head the other way. And last breath. Press into your hands and draw the elbows in to help keep the head, neck, and shoulders relaxed as you press up. And once you're upright, give yourself permission. Remind yourself of the information that is available to you when you move slowly. So walk yourself upright and press back onto your heels, noticing any tension in the quadriceps, tops of the feet and ankles. And then shifting the bolster forward slightly, bringing the knees to one side. And coming into a side position. As we move into a side lying variation, letting your rib cage rest up over the side of the bolster. Your other hand can rest forward onto the ground, or if you have yoga triangles and you'd like to incorporate them, you can let your wrist rest over the triangle and notice that that relaxes the wrist. And again, we'll be here for 5 breaths. Cooling breath through the mouth. Releasing your hand, drawing the arms in, and again, this idea that there's just as much value in moving slowly as moving as required to accomplish things. Information in those tiny movements. So we'll do the other side. So you can rotate and turn the other way, or you can lift and move the bolster to the other side of you. If you don't have a bolster, a couple of thick pillows work fine as well. Bolster is touching up toward the side of the body. Side of rib cage is resting on bolster. Arm can be in front of you or dropping off to behind you. And here's another variation with the triangle. If the elbow floats and you can't get the shoulder to relax, you can set the triangle underneath the elbow. Staying with our cooling breath. Through the nose, out the mouth, 5 breaths. after your fifth breath again, remembering that those slow movements are just as valuable and often generate just as much information as the faster movements that you may experience in your movement practice. For this next variation, we're going to rotate into a spinal twist, and same thing with your triangles. You can have them handy for your hands or your wrists. This variation is a yin variation called Tiger in a Tree, and it is a spinal twist. So you can keep the legs stacked, or you can splay them open into more of a mermaid variation. This is my personal preference. So I've just got one leg cascading forward, the other leg cascading off to the side. Soft bends here. And then use your hands to help frame your body over the pillow or the bolster. Rotating the spine. Do whatever is most comfortable for your neck, so you don't have to turn your head away. You can keep your head toward whichever side is most comfortable for you. And same thing here for your arms. Positioning the arms to where there is the least amount of resistance or tension in the shoulders. And 5 breaths. Give yourself the opportunity to really feel your exhale leaving your body and hear your exhale leaving your body. You can also visualize tension leaving your body. Slow movements as we prepare to find our way out of this pose. I like stretching up here, noticing any opening that occurs across the front line of the body. And then returning back through to center for a moment. You can sit here over the hips and notice how this position can be very nourishing to tight hips. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Try to keep your body in a very calm and slow state. If my pacing isn't slow enough for you, just continue with your own pacing. So, leg options, splaying the legs, fanning the legs, or keeping them stacked. Bolster is coming up toward the edge of the hip so that we have support for the body. And this is a twist for the spine. So we use our hands to help guide our spine toward the center of the bolster. And then we come into the twist, creating support to remove tension and the areas where we hold tension so that we can begin to understand the value in these rest-based practices. Cooling breath, 5 of them, as we enter into our tiger in a tree. You may find if you're holding tension in the jaw that licking the lips and swallowing can help release tension in the jaw. 5 breaths. We know that we move slowly, healing ourselves up, getting that stretch across the front of the body just by lifting the chin away from the chest. No pulling, no pushing, just lifting. And releasing. Move your bolster aside. It's never a bad idea to keep the props handy depending on an opportunity that you may see for incorporating the props. This next variation is going to be a wide straddle fold. So the legs will open. The triangles will come to behind the knees or thighs. If you have a second set of triangles, you can place them down here as well. If you don't have triangles, pillows, blankets, blocks. And then we just let our hands press forward, keeping the arms extended, keeping the head, neck, and shoulders relaxed. Again, no pushing, no pulling. More of a sense of surrender. Yin pose variations are really, really nourishing to the joints. The stress that occurs in the joint over time without applied force in this type of variation can contribute to regenerating synovial fluid, or the gel that protects the joint, which is why Yin Yoga is so wonderful for an additional aspect to your practice. We have been holding for a few, minutes maybe now, minute or so. In this variation, you may find that your body is receptive to extending a little further out, or you may realize that you have walked yourself beyond a reasonable zone, right, where you're gripping, pushing, pulling, and you can walk yourself back in. There's room for shifting in this practice. There's ample time for shifting in this practice. There's ample time for breathing and synthesizing the connection between the breath, the pose, and the connection between your mind and your body in this practice. It's okay to hang your head here. It's also okay if your shoulders round. And now return to your breath. After your 5th breath, go ahead and gently press into your hands and walk yourself back. Be very mindful of how the muscular connections and the vital muscle energy is driving the body. So in this practice, whenever possible, try to keep the muscles relaxed and offline. Focus more on the bones and these really slow, rest encouraging movement. So use your hands to help lift your knees. Move your props. And give yourself just a little circle here. Begin to also observe any rest and digest responses that you may be experiencing. Use your hands to help bring the legs closed. Rest and digest responses can sound like the body making digestive noises. And if you're new to this practice, you might actually start to believe that you're sleepy when you're experiencing relaxation. At this point, a lovely Shavasana, or a final rest, is what we're moving into. So I'm going to show you my final favorite way to explore a bolster for Shavasana, or for our final rest. So your bolsters or your pillows, have them handy. If you're feeling cold, this is where you could cover your feet, your legs, or your belly with a blanket. So I'm going to have this handy. And I'm also going to use another set of triangles for my knees. I have sensitive knees, and I like to provide support for my knees whenever I can. So the triangles are going to go toward a pair with the landmark down, the peak up, the long side toward my body, and this is going to provide a neck ramp for me. The other triangles will go either behind my knees in an extended leg variation or in a butterfly. I'm going to opt for butterfly today just because we did some hip work and I want to continue to keep my hips relaxed. So sliding the triangles underneath the thighs, resting the blanket across my feet and my legs so that my feet and my legs don't get cold. Binding the feet so they're tucked in, and then letting the arms rest completely. So you'll notice no tension in the shoulders or the neck here. And deregulating the breath entirely, so no attempt to control the breath in Shavasana, in our final rest. Eyes can soften or close completely. And this is where everything comes together. If your mind begins to talk to you, you can come back to the affirmation that I shared with you earlier. I have everything I need right now. Take 5 more breaths. And as you take your 5th and final breath, you can begin to wiggle your fingers and stretch in any way that feels good to you. Roll onto your side in a side lying pose.
And then press yourself up to a final seated
position. As our practice draws to a close, I want to thank you for being here, for making the time, and for having the interest in practices that are all encompassing, and especially practices that help us manage stress and pain and teach us the value of rest. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day and continue to explore how to do good things for yourself and take care of yourself. All right, thank you.